I remember watching it at 15 years old, and to me, it's just really the greatest independent film ever made.
In 1976, Taxi Driver shocked audiences with its brutal portrayal of urban decay and one man's descent into madness. But the real horror story was unfolding behind the cameras. Robert De Niro didn't just play Travis Bickle, he became him, spending months driving through New York's most dangerous neighborhoods and isolating himself so completely that friends feared for his sanity. Martin Scorsese was battling his own psychological breakdown while directing, channeling genuine suicidal thoughts into the script. Most shocking of all, the movie inspired John Hinckley Jr.'s assassination attempt on President Reagan, proving that sometimes art can unleash the very evil it seeks to examine. After learning these secrets, you'll realize Taxi Driver wasn't just a movie. It was a psychological experiment that went terrifyingly wrong. Robert De Niro, Travis Bickle. Robert De Niro's preparation for Travis Bickle went so far beyond normal method acting that friends and family became genuinely concerned for his mental health. What he did to embody the character wasn't just research. It was a deliberate descent into psychological isolation that changed him in ways that took years to fully reverse. The most shocking truth? De Niro obtained a real taxi driver's license and spent months driving a cab through New York's most dangerous neighborhoods, working 12-hour night shifts and immersing himself completely in the world of genuine social outcasts. But he didn't just drive. He deliberately isolated himself from all friends and family, refusing social contact to understand Travis's profound loneliness. His girlfriend at the time later said it was like watching someone she loved disappear into another person entirely. De Niro's physical transformation was equally extreme. He lost significant weight to achieve Travis's gaunt, malnourished appearance, surviving on the same junk food diet his character would eat. He stopped bathing regularly and let his personal hygiene deteriorate to match Travis's declining mental state. Cast members reported that De Niro smelled genuinely unpleasant during filming and carried himself with the twitchy, paranoid energy of someone who'd been living on the streets. But here's the most disturbing secret. De Niro's gun training went far beyond what the role required. He spent weeks at firing ranges, becoming genuinely skilled with various weapons and developing what instructors described as an unhealthy fascination with firearms. He practiced quick-draw techniques obsessively, and the famous "you talking to me" scene came from hours of De Niro talking to himself in mirrors while handling real weapons. The psychological toll was devastating. De Niro later admitted that staying in Travis's mindset for months affected his ability to connect with other people, and he experienced genuine paranoid thoughts about strangers on the street. The role left him with lasting trust issues and a cynical worldview that took years of therapy to address. Martin Scorsese. Director Martin Scorsese wasn't just directing Taxi Driver. He was exorcising his own demons through Travis Bickle's story. And the secrets behind his creative process reveal a filmmaker teetering on the edge of his own psychological collapse. What happened during production was as much about Scorsese's personal turmoil as it was about making a movie. The most devastating truth? Scorsese was battling deep depression and serious substance struggles during filming, using the movie as a way to channel his feelings of isolation and anger toward the world. He later admitted that Travis's famous "loneliness has followed me my whole life" speech came directly from Scorsese's own journal entries written during his darkest period. The director was living much of what his character experienced: sleepless nights, anxious thoughts, and a growing disconnection from normal human relationships. Scorsese's Catholic upbringing created a guilt complex that permeated every frame of the film. The religious imagery wasn't just artistic choice. It reflected his genuine struggle with sin, redemption, and violence that had been tormenting him since childhood. He saw Travis as a twisted Christ figure trying to cleanse the world through destruction, which mirrored Scorsese's own conflicted feelings about his faith and his art. But here's the most shocking revelation. Scorsese's collaboration with De Niro became dangerously codependent during production. Both men were isolated, uneasy, and obsessed with authenticity to a degree that worried everyone around them. They would spend hours together in character, with Scorsese essentially directing Travis while becoming increasingly absorbed in the character's worldview himself. Jodie Foster, Iris Jodie Foster, was only 12 years old when she was cast as the underage character Iris. And the secrets behind her involvement in such adult material reveal an industry that was shockingly careless with young actors' welfare. What happened to Foster during production would be considered unthinkable by today's standards. The most disturbing truth? Foster's casting sparked massive controversy even before filming began, with child welfare advocates and religious groups protesting the use of a minor in scenes involving exploitation and violence. But what audiences didn't know was how little protection Foster actually received on set. She was present during discussions of sensitive material, witnessed De Niro's increasingly disturbing behavior, and was exposed to adult themes in ways that would have overwhelmed most children. Foster's psychological preparation was handled by a child psychiatrist, but here's what shocked everyone. She seemed to handle the role better than the adult actors around her. Foster later revealed that she approached Iris as a character study rather than understanding the full implications of what she was portraying. Her professionalism and maturity actually made adults on set more comfortable with the situation than they should have been. But the most haunting consequence came years later when John Hinckley Jr.'s obsession with Foster, sparked by her role in Taxi Driver, led to his violent attempt on President Reagan. Foster, by then at Yale University, was thrust into a nightmare of stalking and threats that lasted for years. She was forced to have bodyguards, change her daily routines, and live in constant fear because of a role she had taken as a child. Sybil Shepherd, Betsy. Sybil Shepherd's portrayal of the pristine campaign worker Betsy created one of cinema's most chilling character dynamics. But the secrets behind her casting and performance reveal an actress who was fighting her own battles both on and off screen. Her experience making Taxi Driver became a cautionary tale about Hollywood politics and personal relationships gone wrong. The most explosive truth? Shepherd was having a highly publicized affair with the film's producer, which created massive tension on set and influenced her casting in ways that had nothing to do with her acting ability. Martin Scorsese initially resisted her involvement, feeling she was wrong for the role, but was overruled by studio politics. This behind-the-scenes drama created an atmosphere of resentment that actually enhanced the cold distance between her character and De Niro's Travis. Shepherd's approach to acting clashed violently with De Niro's intense method technique. While he was living as Travis 24 hours a day, she maintained a professional distance from her character that frustrated both De Niro and Scorsese. She later admitted she found De Niro's commitment frightening and unhealthy, and she deliberately avoided him between takes because his Travis persona made her genuinely uncomfortable. But here's the most shocking secret. Shepherd's character Betsy was originally written to be more sympathetic, but her real personality influenced Scorsese to make the character colder and more dismissive. Her genuine disdain for De Niro's method approach bled into her performance, creating the perfect icy rejection that drives Travis toward violence. The famous scene where Betsy rejects Travis after he takes her to a porn movie was informed by Shepherd's real disgust with the film's seedy world. Paul Schrader, screenwriter. Paul Schrader didn't just write Taxi Driver, he bled his own psychological breakdown onto the page, creating a script so autobiographical that it terrified everyone who read it. The secrets behind the screenplay reveal a man who was using Travis Bickle's story to process his own suicidal thoughts and violent fantasies. The most disturbing truth? Schrader wrote the script during the darkest period of his life, when he was living alone in Los Angeles, drinking heavily and contemplating suicide. He later revealed that many of Travis's journal entries were direct transcriptions from his own diary during this period. The famous line, "I'm God's lonely man," was something Schrader had written about himself weeks before creating the character. Schrader's research into political assassination was obsessively thorough and genuinely concerning. He studied the cases of Arthur Bremer, who shot George Wallace and other would-be assassins, becoming fascinated with their psychology and motivations. He spent months reading about loners who turned to violence, and his script treatment reads like an actual manifesto from a disturbed individual planning an attack. The most frightening secret was Schrader's own admission that writing the script may have saved his life by giving him an outlet for his violent thoughts. He later said that creating Travis allowed him to explore his darkest impulses safely, but he also acknowledged that the character represented genuine parts of his personality that scared him. The line between cathartic writing and dangerous fantasy became terrifyingly blurred. The real New York City. The New York City of 1975 that served as Taxi Driver's backdrop wasn't just a movie set. It was a genuine urban wasteland that provided the perfect environment for Travis Bickle's descent into madness. The secrets of filming in this dangerous landscape reveal how the city itself became another character in the story. The most shocking truth? New York in the mid-1970s was experiencing a complete social breakdown that made Travis's apocalyptic worldview seem almost reasonable. The city was on the verge of bankruptcy, crime rates were at historic highs, and entire neighborhoods had been abandoned to drug dealers and prostitutes. Times Square, where much of the film was shot, was a genuine hellscape of porn theaters, strip clubs, and street crime that existed exactly as shown in the movie. De Niro's Taxi Driver research took him into neighborhoods so dangerous that even police officers advised against filming there. He spent nights driving through the South Bronx, Harlem, and other areas where taxi drivers were regularly robbed and murdered. The authenticity of his performance came from genuine fear and paranoia developed during these excursions into New York's most violent areas. The most haunting secret was how the city's decay influenced everyone's psychology during production. Cast and crew reported feeling genuinely depressed and paranoid after spending months filming in such a toxic environment. The urban wasteland wasn't just Travis's delusion, it was a real place that was driving everyone involved toward the same dark thoughts that consumed the character: production secrets and violence. The making of Taxi Driver's infamous final shootout required creative solutions that pushed the boundaries of what was possible with 1970s filmmaking technology, but the secrets behind creating such realistic violence reveal a production that was willing to risk everything for authenticity. The most shocking truth? The film's tiny budget forced Scorsese to use practical effects and real locations that made the violence more authentic than big-budget alternatives. The famous shootout was filmed in an actual brothel that had recently been shut down by police, and the blood-soaked walls still contained evidence of real violence that had occurred there. Scorsese's approach to filming violence was obsessively realistic. He studied actual crime scene photographs and consulted with coroners to understand how bodies react to gunshot wounds. The choreography of Travis's rampage was based on real shootings, and De Niro practiced the sequence hundreds of times to make his movements authentic rather than cinematic. But here's the most disturbing revelation. The MPAA threatened to give the film an X rating because of the graphic violence, which would have killed its commercial prospects. Scorsese's solution was to manipulate the color timing of the blood, making it appear more orange than red in the final print. This technical trick reduced the visual impact without changing the actual content, allowing the film to receive an R rating while maintaining its brutal power. Cultural impact and John Hinckley Taxi Driver's release didn't just entertain audiences. It unleashed a cultural nightmare that would forever change how society viewed the relationship between violent media and real-world crime. The secrets behind the film's most terrifying legacy reveal how art can inspire the very horrors it seeks to examine. The most shocking truth? On March 30th, 1981, John Hinckley Jr. attempted to assassinate President Ronald Reagan specifically to impress Jodie Foster, whom he had become obsessed with after watching Taxi Driver repeatedly. But what audiences didn't know was how closely Hinckley had studied Travis Bickle's methods. He practiced shooting at a firing range, kept a detailed diary modeled on Travis's journal entries, and even moved to New Haven to stalk Foster at Yale University. Hinckley had watched Taxi Driver over 15 times, memorizing entire scenes and adopting Travis's mannerisms and worldview. FBI investigators found that his apartment was filled with photographs of Foster, weapons similar to those used in the film, and writings that directly quoted Travis's dialogue. The assassination attempt wasn't random violence. It was a real-life recreation of the movie's plot, with Reagan substituted for the politician Travis originally planned to kill. But here's the most disturbing revelation. Foster received death threats and obsessive letters for years before Hinckley's attack, but law enforcement couldn't intervene because he hadn't committed any crimes. She was forced to live with bodyguards and change her daily routines, essentially becoming a prisoner, because of her childhood role in the film. The irony was devastating. Foster, who had played a victim of urban violence, became a real victim because of that same performance. The film's legacy remains a warning about the power of art to transform both creators and audiences in ways no one can predict or control. Hit subscribe to discover more shocking truths behind cinema's most controversial masterpieces.